We are going to start off with the first topic for today, developer tooling. And to show you what we have in store, I would like to invite Ananya, Senior Product Manager, Developer Tooling, on the stage. Give her a huge round of applause. Take it away.
Thanks, Aditya. Hi, everyone. My name is Ananya, and I'm your product manager for the IDE experience and now Einstein for Developers. Now, before I get started with all the great new features coming out with this release, I want to take a moment to say thank you to all of you for providing us this feedback each and every release. This feedback is really what helps us as product managers determine that the new features and products we're putting out are really meeting your day-to-day needs. So thank you again, and keep it coming. Now, having been a developer myself, I know exactly how important it is that we continue to innovate in a way that's improving your day-to-day productivity. And so that's why I'm so excited to announce that with Winter 24, we have a ton of new innovations coming that will do exactly that. So first up, we have Code Builder. With Code Builder, you no longer have to worry about downloading or installing any of those developer tools or software to your local environment. Instead, you're able to continue working inside of this web-based browser IDE. And I'm excited to announce that Code Builder is officially going to be in GA this October. So let's take a moment to give everyone a round of applause for Code Builder going GA this year. Woo! Now, next up, we have Einstein for Developers. With Einstein for Developers, you're going to be able to effortlessly generate code with the help of a large language model. And which model, you may ask? Well, behind the scenes, we're using Salesforce's very own in-house LLM, CodeGen. With CodeGen, we're able to ensure that your data and code are never leaving those Salesforce trust boundaries. And it's been trained on Salesforce languages and frameworks. Next up, we have the Code Analyzer extension, which is now available to you inside of your developer environment as well, so you can look at it inside of VS Code. With Code Analyzer, we're making sure that as you generate code using AI, you're confident in the changes that you're making. So with Code Analyzer, you can scan your code to make sure that it's both secure and performant. So why don't we take a look at all of this in action with a demo? And joining us today, we have Mohit and Julia as our demo drivers. So today, we're looking at Code Builder's new setup environment. From here, you can go ahead and enable and install Code Builder for your org. Once you've gone ahead and done that, you'll be launched into the Code Builder dashboard. From there, you can both create and launch a working environment, just like the one we'll be inside of today. Now, the first time you open up Code Builder, you'll be inside of this welcome screen. This welcome screen is great because it helps you get started with your Salesforce development. So you have access to all of the documentation or trailheads that you might need to get started with your day. So as I mentioned earlier, one of the great things about working with Code Builder is that you don't have to worry about installing any of those developer tools. So for example, I want to take a look at the newest release coming from our CLI, which is SF CLI v2, which is now in GA. Why don't we take a look and actually see that CLI in action now? So today, I want to take a look and understand what all of the orgs are that I'm currently authorized into. The great thing about the new version of this CLI is that it is both intuitive and performant. So I don't need to worry about any of those colons anymore. I get to use a quick space between all of my commands. Why don't we see another example? Let's go ahead and let's create an Apex class called Account Controller. And as we see that class being generated in our output, we'll see both the class and the associated metadata file. And I'll go ahead and jump into that file just to make sure that it matches what I was expecting. And it looks pretty good to me. So why don't we get started with writing some code now? Now, typically, in the olden days, I would have had to get started with this code all by myself. But sometimes that can be hard. I don't want to stare at this blank screen and then figure out what I need to type. So instead, I'm going to use the power of Einstein for Developers. So Einstein for Developers has been created as an extension, so you can use it from both VS Code and Code Builder, as we're doing today. So why don't we go ahead and try an example using Einstein. Today, I want to query all of my accounts for their related records. So I'll go ahead and I'll type that into my new Einstein sidebar. And this sidebar is where you actually put in your prompts. And so this is how you're telling the AI behind the scenes what task you're looking to complete for the day. So I've got my prompt in there. We know that we're creating a new class for our account controller. So I'm going to hit ask and actually ask Einstein to generate that code. And there we go. We now have code that has been generated for us using Einstein, and I can take a look, and I'm going to make sure that it follows all of those best practices that I'm used to using. So since it looks pretty good to me right now, I'm going to hit copy, and then I'll add it to that account controller class that we'd already created. So I'm looking at this code now, and again, whenever you're working with AI-generated code, you want to ensure that you're taking the time as a user to review that code for those best practices. This looks pretty good to me, so I'll go ahead and save it, and I'll try deploying it to the org. And this is a great way just to make sure that it does compile, and it does. So I'm going to move on to my next task of the day. Now, this next one is one that's usually a bit more daunting for me. I have to actually go and create the test data to actually test the class that we created. And so I'm again going to do this with the help of Einstein behind the scenes, and we're going to ask Einstein to generate some test data for this account controller class that we've created. So let's go ahead and hit ask, and you know that Einstein is thinking with the little spinner showing it to us. And we have our test data generated. It looks like it's doing exactly what I wanted it to. So I'll go ahead and move on to my next task of the day. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there's a number of benefits with us leveraging our in-house LLM for Einstein. Number one is that it's been trained for Salesforce languages and frameworks. But number two is that it's actually evolving every time we release new features from the platform. So for example, Data Weave in Apex is now in GA, and I want to see if Einstein can generate code for me using our new Data Weave feature. So let's go ahead and ask Einstein to parse a CSV file using Data Weave in Apex. And then we'll go ahead and ask Einstein and really see what's going on. And I'm looking at the output. It honestly has done exactly what I'd asked it to. It looks like we're using Data Weave, and I'm going to go ahead and now copy this into my file so we can keep going, right? Now, we're going to copy it into the file, but then we want to make sure we're still reviewing it for those best practices and patterns. And although it looks pretty good to me, I now have the help of Code Analyzer to ensure that it truly is following all of those best practices. So again, Code Analyzer's VS Code extension is available to you on VS Code and coming soon in Code Builder as well. And so now I'm going to go ahead and I'll scan my existing file using our static analysis tooling here. Behind the scenes, we're leveraging open source tools like Apex PMD, again, to ensure we're following those best practices. And today we completed a static analysis scan. But the great thing about Code Analyzer is that you can also complete a path-based analysis scan that will actually holistically look at all of the code in your org and find all those related references as well. Now, our static analysis scan has finished up, and it looks like I didn't catch one of those errors, and we're actually not following our CRUD and FLS permissions. And so it's a quick fix for our team here. We're going to go ahead and insert in as user mode to our SOQL query just to make sure that our queries are secure. And now I'm ready to go with the help of Code Builder, Einstein for Developers, and Code Analyzer. So we're just getting started with all of our AI capabilities to help transform your developer experience. And I'm so excited to show you all the great new features we have planned in our upcoming roadmap across both developer tooling and environments over the upcoming months. And these features range all the way from inline code completion to code explanations to really transform that development experience for you all. So thank you, and now it's back to you, Aditya.